This training is about coaching employees. My name is Jennifer Sherrill, and I'm one of the consultants with HR Answers. I look forward to spending time with you today. We will take an approach to discover what coaching is all about today. How to set the stage for coaching, identify the skills and techniques that help the coaching process to be successful, and we'll discuss coaching strategies that can be utilized in different situations. Let's get right to it and define what is coaching. Studies show employees who are coached receive many benefits from the relationship, which include improved productivity, better performance, enhanced commitment, broader knowledge, and improved working relationships. All employees can benefit from coaching, not just the rising stars or the challenging employees. Coaching is a partnership that is formed between two people. The focus is on learning and developing, and in most cases, the manager is coaching an employee. According to a Harvard Business Review article, coaching is a mutual sharing of experiences and opinions to create agreed upon outcomes. This is a process, not a one-time meeting and then you're done. Coaching allows many different types of tools to be used to help the person be successful. Many organizations and individuals are recognizing the purpose and benefits of coaching. A learning environment and culture is one that will utilize coaching, not just as a formal process, but in all aspects of learning and growing for employees. It should be a part of the organization's strategy, and there are many resources available for organizations to use today. This can be internal coaching, or many times you may partner with external coaches depending upon the situation. The coaching experience is truly customized. It's a one-on-one relationship that occurs over a period of time, not necessarily specified. It can occur in a short period of time, up to 3 months, or it could be longer. However, the business goal or objective needs are to be identified in the early onset of the coaching relationship. It might be a specific developmental area, such as external communication or project management, that's been identified as a growth opportunity for the employee. Coaching is not mentoring. There are some similarities, but mentoring is identifying an experienced individual with someone who is learning a specific skill, task, or responsibility. Also, let's be clear, coaching is not counseling. It might feel like it at times, but it really isn't. Coaching is not designed to specifically teach or instruct someone, yet there may be a need to support an individual through guidance. We will discuss all of these aspects later on throughout the workshop. Coaching is tailored to meet the overarching needs of the client, your employee, and using various tools to support the learning process. So much of what you're hearing should include the ongoing focus on that collaborative process that occurs between the manager and the employee. In other words, coaching requires managers to evolve beyond the traditional supervisory role and adopt a more consultative role. This relationship, when structured well, can be a great experience for both parties. There can be growth and development for both the manager and the employee when this process is structured well. Essentially, a manager identified to participate in the coaching experience with an employee, they need support too. Studies show that when managers adopt a teaching-only style by offering advisement or instruction such as, first you're going to do this and then you're going to want to do that, or why don't you do this instead, it can come across more of micromanaging as coaching instead of coaching conversations that promote independent thinking and collaboration to overcome obstacles. A coach that's in motivation mode brings their expertise to the relationship, yet they're very mindful of the approach that needs to they need to take to ensure it's powerful by exhibiting the listening, engagement, and collaboration techniques. There are many specific areas where coaching can be utilized in business today. Onboarding is one of them. Coaching that may take place with someone who is entry level or maybe has been identified as someone with a specific gap and to help them successfully transition into the culture. Time management is another area. Most people are time challenged. We all can feel that one. There's an article that recently cited 94% of workers in the professional service industry work over 50 hours a week. A coach can strategize with an employee on ideas, concepts, and suggestions to assist in balancing time at work. Missing deadlines is another area that can frequently benefit by the use of coaching. Overworked and overwhelmed employees. Today's world has us focusing on wellness, work-life balance, and having conversations about what's happening in someone's world can be critical with a coach. Problem solving and goal setting are great areas to explore with a coach, and a coach can be utilized for removing and understanding obstacles that people face in order to bolster awareness. Coaching has a direct link to performance on many levels, and that's something we'll be discussing throughout our time today as well. In a recent article from 2021, Quantum Workplace identified 12 rules to ongoing employee coaching. Give employees regular, frequent feedback. Create a culture of team feedback. Push employees to their attainable limits. Be open to employees' ideas. Encourage employees to learn from others. And ask employees for opinions. Let's see what the next 6 are and what they have to offer. Build confidence in employees. Recognize and acknowledge them for their efforts. Don't do employees' work for them. Tolerate and support failure. That can be hard to do, but super critical when it comes to coaching. Recognize employees often. Make a goals roadmap and ask what you can do to help. Employees who prefer coaching from direct managers as a form of professional development are 5.6% points more engaged than those who don't want coaching. And as you can see on the slide, 85% of highly disengaged employees don't receive enough coaching from their boss. While there are many important leadership skills and competencies, coaching is central to improving the performance of entire teams. Consistent coaching goes a long way. It does help with employee onboarding and retention. It improves performance overall. Coaching can offer skills improvement and knowledge transfer, along with it reinforces and transfers learning. It also helps the culture and allows the organizational history, like the tribal knowledge, to be retained in the culture. You might be asking, well, what's tribal knowledge? Tribal knowledge is a term that refers to any information that is not widely known by other employees within the company. In other words, if it's not documented, it's in somebody else's head until they leave the organization. Strategic coaching experiences can support retention of this knowledge, and it helps the overall organization. Many times moving from a manager to a coach, it's not easy. So if we think back to those early days, maybe you were a part of a little league or you knew of a child who was on one. So if we reflect on that, there's 3 scenarios. We have the 3 kinds of teams. The directionless group of kids running around aimlessly, taking frequent breaks for cookies and juice. There might be the group that's organized, who is focused, but still had fun. And then the hyper-focused and aggressive group. So of those 3 teams, how do you think these teams got the way that they did? Well, it's the coach, of course. The first group had the coddling coach. The second had the balanced coach. And the third had the intense coach, living out his failed or her failed soccer dreams vicariously through a group of 6-year-olds. Which seems like the healthiest group to you? What I hope you've reflected on is the second one. But the question really is, how do you coach in such a way that can help produce a healthy team? Good coaching can be easy to spot, but it's very hard to emulate. First, you need to meet your team members and see where they're at. Coaching is not a one-size-fits-all endeavor. Some people will need a lot more hand-holding or help, guidance specifically on a day-to-day basis, depending on where they're at in their job role or overall career. So before we get into the 7 coaching tips, let's look at what you can do to align coaching with conversations with individual employee needs. The best coaches don't use the same coaching style for each individual. They're flexible enough to adapt to the situation at hand. So if we look at the 5 levels, you'll have to adapt accordingly. We've got the novices, the doers, the performers, the masters, and the experts. Let's take a deeper dive into those different levels that can be used for coaching. So level 1 is the novice. Novices are in the telling stage of learning. They need to receive a lot of instruction and constructive correction. If you're confident in the people you've hired, then they probably won't need to stay in the stage for very long. But also be cautious of micromanaging tendencies. We don't want to hold an employee back from moving to the next level. The next level is the doer. Once novices begin to understand the tasks and start to perform, they transition to the doer stage. They haven't yet mastered the job, so there's still a heavy amount of coaching that's going on. But they're doing some productive work and contributing to the team. So there are now opportunities to encourage new behaviors and provide praise for doers that are achieving good results. So remember when we discussed the fact that coaching is not instructing or teaching, but guiding. Maybe you've hired someone who needs to learn a system or a program or a refresher on a specific skill. This really is the novice, and so you're guiding them and then just getting out of their way. For the doer, they may have mastered the job, but contributions are evident in the work that's produced. This is a critical stage for retention. They're still learning, but not 100% there yet. So again, praising for the hard work and the good results can go very far in the long run. Again, this coaching style is transitionary, and it helps support someone at the different levels for progress, culture adoption, and ongoing growth. Let's talk about the next level, which is the performer. As doers start accomplishing a task to standards, they become performers. Now they're doing real work and carrying their full share of the load, and they're doing the task the way it should be done. With performers, there's much less coaching, if any at all, but there's still feedback, mostly focused on recognizing those good results and improving the results that don't meet expectations. As it states here, refraining from telling what to do, but what steps are taken and how the work is getting accomplished is key. During this level, a coach may find that there are other tools that need to be used to help the employee become stronger and a more successful performer. For a master, some performers may continue to grow on the job and reach that master stage. At this point, they can not only accomplish the tasks to standards, but they do so efficiently and effectively. Plus, they have a deep enough understanding of what should be done, so they can actually start teaching and coaching others on the task, and they know enough to actually help improve those standard processes. So at this level, your coaching really takes on a different meaning and a new approach, and it might now become one where you are supporting others in their coaching experiences with other employees. And the fifth and final level, coaching employee level, is the expert. Experts are valuable employees of the team and may become frontline team leads. Experts don't need a lot of direction. They're highly self-sufficient. If anything, they can provide direction to others. Experts don't necessarily require a lot of recognition and praise to stay motivated, but that doesn't mean that they don't want any. Here's where many managers are building their bench strength. They're identifying key performers, or they might be searching for succession planning opportunities. In all of those areas, a coach can be highly beneficial to the employee's current support of others and their career growth trajectory. 66% of employees who receive coaching say it improved their overall satisfaction and performance. Now that we've gone over the different performance levels that where employees can be, let's talk about some of those tips. These coaching tips will work for any of those 5 levels and can help you have a more mutually beneficial coaching conversation that will improve overall team performance. So these, now that we've gone over the different performance levels your employees could be at, let's get to the things that you really also want to know, and those are those tips. These coaching tips will work in any of those 5 levels. So the first one that you can see is we're talking about asking guided questions. Those open-ended guiding questions that can lead to a more detailed and thoughtful answers, which then lead to more productive coaching conversations. As a manager or leader, it's critical that you develop strong relationships with your employees. This will help you determine if your employees are curious, have the capacity to perform and improve, and what kind of attitude they have towards their work. This is where communication skills and emotional intelligence really come into play. Managers must guide conversations by both asking questions and listening, but not giving those directives. Employees learn and grow the most when they uncover the answers themselves. So again, that manager transition to coach, as an example of this, you might be, if you're coaching someone who's describing and sharing with you an argument that they may have had with another coworker. So as they're sharing with you that conversation and what they've experienced, it might be best, instead of saying, "How did that make you feel?" by further exploring and posing questions like, I hear how frustrated you are. What do you think is going on in their world that might have led to this type of behavior? Or another question could be, so what does the business need the two of you to do? And as a coach, this helps open that dialogue to allow those questions to really dig in and explore and share at a deeper level. And then if that works well, then it also allows you as the coach to be able to continue that dialogue and ask, I wonder if you might be open to me sharing with you how I'm seeing this. Could I offer you a different lens, maybe a new approach? So those guiding questions that are open-ended may really help benefit both parties. Let's talk about recognition and what's going well, right? Coaching well requires a balance of criticism and praise. If your coaching conversations are completely focused on what's not working and what the employee has to do to change, then it's not so motivating. It can be perceived as more demoralizing. Your recognition of the things your employee is doing well can be a springboard into how they can build from that to improve. We're not talking about the compliment sandwich here, right? Because that coaching technique often devolves into shallow praise and can come across as insincere. Giving compliments that you don't actually mean can have a worse effect than not giving anything at all. So take the time to think about specific things that are going well, and remember to let your employees know that you see and appreciate them. Another aspect of this is how well the employee themselves like to be recognized. This can be another great opportunity to ask questions from the very start of your coaching relationship, employment relationship. What does frequent recognition look like for them? What helps them stay motivated? And do they prefer recognition publicly or privately? Because I know for you, the last thing you want to do is to embarrass someone when you're trying to be a good coach. A great tip to use when it comes to effective listening skills and empowering your employees is really looking at coaching where it requires both encouragement and empowerment. As a manager and a leader, your job is to build one-on-one relationships with employees that result in improved performance. Your employees are likely to have a lot of input, questions, and feedback. It's important for them to know you care enough to listen to what they have to say, so encourage them to share their opinions. This is very challenging and can be difficult to do. But the more you, as a coach, open and reflect the sincerity, it will help with respect to building that openness in the relationship. Some employees will have no problem speaking their mind, while others may need a lot of encouragement before they share an opinion with you openly. Once they do open up, be sure to reflect those opinions by discussing them rather than dismissing them. So, effective listening includes active listening. This means the listener's paying close attention to the speaker's behaviors and body language in order to gain better understanding of the message. As the listener, using visual cues such as nodding, making eye contact with them, and avoiding interruptions. Ensuring the coach is waiting before responding. Be sure to withhold that judgment and use reflective skills such as summarizing or, hey, sounds like you X, fill in the blank. Clarifying and summarizing are keys to active listening, along with sharing without providing solutions. When you coach your employees, asking those powerful questions and then making observations instead of just telling them the answer, this is an empowering technique that challenges employees to solve problems and helps to drive the company forward. Another great tip to make sure as a coach is understanding the coachee's perspective. So when you're coaching employees to improve performance and engagement, approaching things from their perspective rather than your own will help enormously with seeing the changes and results that you want. Everyone has different motivations, preferences, and personalities. So if you ask questions to help you understand their why and where it's coming from, and what their preferred how looks like, then you can tailor your coaching conversations to align the way they work best with the improvements you're both aiming for. When you invest in the co-creation of meaning and purpose, that can be very helpful. So let's talk about that. A recent Forbes article identified that 9 in 10 workers would take a pay cut in order to engage in a more purposeful work. One way to help co-create purpose for your team is to work with them to co-develop a mission statement, a vision, maybe a vision board, some sort of team manifesto. Ask the simple question, why does this team exist? And don't stop there. Continue to ask why questions until you've discovered your team's deeper and more personal purpose, not just the obvious technical one. And then taking that and gaining that, to understand from their perspective, to help reinforce that, encourage these conversations in your one-on-ones and team meetings, frequently revisiting your purpose or mission in order to keep it front and center. It's always important to remember perspective is the way individuals see the world. It comes from their personal point of view. It's shaped by life experiences, values, their current state of mind, and the assumptions they bring into a situation, and a whole lot of other things. So let's now, additional steps. Let's talk about what do you do next potentially. Coaching conversations are meant to yield changes and results. So be sure to clearly define and outline what needs to happen next. This will ensure that you and your employee are on the same page with expectations, helps provide clear understanding of the practical steps that they can take to make changes and improve. These next steps should be mutually agreed upon. Talk about what's reasonable, given their workload or the complexity of the changes being made. This doesn't have to be super complicated. What you could do is, what are those 1 or 2 things that we need to do next before the next time that we get together? And based on those agreements, you either write them down, maybe solidify it in an email, whatever that works well to help each other and support one another. And I also would encourage that you're asking, what is it that I can do to help ensure that you're moving towards these objectives or these steps. Coaching in the moment. If an employee comes to you with a question about a process or protocol, use that opportunity to teach them something new. And I know I said the word teach, but many times that could be, it's just a couple of things that you're reflecting and showing on. And it's the train the trainer type idea. If you're not able to stop what you're doing right away, schedule time with them as soon as possible to go over it. Or perhaps maybe identify if there's somebody else that might actually have that expertise that they're seeking out, and maybe you can help create a relationship or a partnership so that they are continuing to grow and develop with somebody else as well. Better yet, still keeping that weekly one-on-one meeting scheduled with each employee so you can go over questions and issues regularly while maintaining that productivity. Coaching employees with the goal of improving performance means making them a priority each week. But if you can't do it each week, make sure that you have some sort of regular cadence in which to spend time with your employees. So committing to continual learning, that's a big, coaching overall success, right? Tip. Making a commitment to improving your own skills and competencies. And if you're not continuously learning, why should your employees do this? It's that leading by example, and your team will follow. Show that you're interested in their success. I mean, why wouldn't you be? Ask the questions about where they see their career going. We talked about that a little earlier, but here's another time to maybe continue to reinforce in that continual process. Here's what we talked about. Where are we going, and how is it that they see that their role is evolving with the company? Even if they don't have a plan laid out yet, these questions might make them think about their career and what they would like to accomplish with the organization. Show your employees that you don't want them to just do better so that you look better, but that you're actively interested in their career accomplishment and professional success. Emotional intelligence is a critical aspect of coaching employees in a way that builds relationships, boosts engagement, and improves performance. Managers and leaders can see greatly improved coaching skills by taking steps to improve their emotional intelligence, and they go hand in hand. So now let's discuss situations specific to performance coaching. We all have those employees who are either underperforming, they need to grow where they're at, or they need to share, or you may need to share they may need to share their expertise with others. Performance coaching does not always have to be about somebody who's not performing. But let's talk about 3 easy steps. Start, continue, and maintain. And let's discuss this further. So the first step in coaching an employee is the effort to improve their performance can be counseling or coaching. Counseling or coaching is a part of the day-to-day interaction between a manager and employee who reports to them. Sometimes you might need to work with HR professionals and other line managers within the organization. Coaching often provides positive feedback about employees' contributions. Employees need to know when they're effectively contributing. By providing this positive feedback, you're letting the employee know that the actions and the contributions that you'd like to reinforce and you'd like to see more of. Essentially, identifying employee performance is important to assisting them with coaching or support for counseling when applicable. Most of the time, the initial start for coaching is due to some miss or an area of opportunity for the employee. In the day-to-day business, there will be an employee or employees who are not quite performing to expectations. The concept of coaching is to address when noticed and begin to provide some immediate support to help redirect. This is not for the egregious underperformance situations, but when there are employees who may need some targeted support. When there is a situation when an employee is showing signs of struggling, there's a strong encouragement to build that partnership with human resources to help and provide potential interventions that may be necessary at the time or in the future. If an employee continues to struggle, there might be a formal process that needs to be implemented. This is also known as a performance improvement plan, or you might also hear PIP. And this will entail coaching feedback sessions. This is a change in the relationship, but it is very critical for the organization to participate in these conversations and situations when the needs arise. Organizations, when we talk about maintaining, organizations may many times overlook the strong performance, the strong performers within the teams, and unfortunately end up spending large amounts of time on those employees who are underperforming instead. Yet the energy invested in those providing valued and concrete contributions through coaching experiences can be hugely beneficial. In fact, helping employees grow and learn in their current roles can increase retention. And additionally, those investments in coaching others can help with promotions, lateral moves, and special project successes. So let's recap when it comes to performance coaching. It's always good to define employees' capabilities. This is get to know your employees, get to know where they're at, get to know the strengths and opportunities in relationship to the roles and the tasks that are at hand. Coach to improve the underperformer's performance, and then coach to excel and grow employees who are reflecting valued contributions. All approaches aid to the organization's bottom line. They garner team improvement, and it aids in a culture of mindfulness, purpose, and meaning. So let's drill in just a little deeper to address employees who are reflecting that they're struggling with their performance. The next few slides, we will discuss 6 coaching steps that will help follow and address an individual who needs improvement. So the first step is to demonstrate your belief in the employee's ability to improve, right? That is really showing confidence in the employee's ability and willingness to solve a problem. Ask them for help in solving the problem or how to improve their performance. Ask the employee to join you with the goal of increasing their overall effectiveness as a contributor to your organization. The next one is describe the performance problem to the employee. No one should be walking into a situation where they're struggling, or you've identified that they're struggling and they don't know what the problem is. So let's focus on the problem or the behavior that does need improvement, not the person. Be very specific about those observations or situations or scenarios that have been observed and seen, and use those as your descriptions of the behavior in those examples so that you have some sort of shared meaning with the employee to discuss. Ask for their view of the situation. Do they see the same problem and the same opportunity for improvement that you do? The third part of coaching is with somebody who needs to improve is determine whether issues exist that limit the employee. Ask yourself whether the employee has the ability to perform the tasks or accomplish the objectives. 4 common barriers are time, training, tools, and temperament. It would be important to determine how to remove these barriers, assuming that one might exist. Determine whether the employee needs your help to remove those barriers as a key role as a manager, or if they're able to tackle them alone. The fourth step is really discussing the potential solutions to the problem and the improvement to take. With an underperforming employee, ask the employee for their ideas about how to correct the problem or what might prevent it from happening again. If you use the same scenario, maybe you're working with somebody who really is a high-performing employee, talk about what continuous improvement might look like with them. Then agree on an action plan that's in writing. A written plan should include with the employee, the manager, and if you're enlisting the support, strongly encouraged with HR or another higher level manager, what will correct the problem or improve the situation. Identify the core goals that the employee must meet to achieve the appropriate level of performance that the organization needs. Can't address enough how specific that would be, and just really make sure that both of you are on the same page. Last but not least is set a date and time for follow-up. Determine if a critical feedback path is needed so that the manager knows how the employee is progressing. Be sure to offer positive encouragement along the way. Express confidence in the employee's ability to improve and recognize, however, that the only person who's in charge of their performance improvement is the employee. As much as you try to help, that individual is the one who's ultimately in charge of their growth and their improvement. Now let's talk about some great strategies that can be implemented to improve performance. This is not just for employees who are underperforming, but also for those who you may have identified a need for just an area of improvement. So these strategies include the first part is designing the relationship. As with all relationships in life, more than one person is involved in a work relationship. And when you design the relationship with the employee, you determine how you want your professional relationship to be. So that might be important as a coach to help facilitate by asking certain questions to help define that. So you might look at, how does the employee like to be managed? How will you as the manager provide feedback? How do they like to receive feedback? What do you expect of your employee? Be clear about goals and expectations. How often will you meet? What are the goals for the coaching relationship? These are just a few questions that can be used for designing the coaching relationship. Remember, this is a two-way street. Make sure you give the employee the chance to ask questions and express what they need from the relationship as well. One of the best ways to get closer and closer to a buy-in process is defining goals and objectives, along with it gaining additional insight from both parties. And that's using these powerful questions as identified in this slide. So let's talk about how to ask, or what are those powerful questions that help to open up the lines of communication between the manager and the employee. The power of coaching does really require that you engage with the employee in this process. You want to create that space in which both of you feel able to contribute to the conversation. Asking questions allows the employee to express their thoughts and ideas and makes them feel included. Powerful questions can be used in discussing professional development, creating solutions to problems, and managing performance issues. Focusing on asking open-ended questions that invite the employee to explain. We encourage you to not rush to give employees an answer. Coach them through the solutions to the problems. Here's just a few examples. What are your career goals? What do you need from me as your manager? What energizes you? What work do you look forward to doing? These are kind of questions for understanding. What happened? What might you have learned along the way? How could you or might you handle this situation differently in the future? What are your ideas for fixing this problem? And what do you think? Asking questions allows you to gather more information before taking action. For example, if you do need to have a difficult conversation with an employee about performance, focus the discussion around the asking questions. And by gathering information first and then together developing options for moving forward strategy. We discussed the value of active listening and using listening checks. This strategy is timeless. Active listening includes mirroring. Mirroring is the most basic version of reflective listening. As you simply repeat the main words or the last sentence that the speaker spoke, kind of like you would when somebody was speaking, then got distracted and said, oh, where was I? Mirroring is providing that feedback. Another way of reflecting back is paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is more complicated of those two techniques. It can be more powerful though, because it uses the same principle of mirroring in that the goal is only to reflect what the speaker is saying instead of adding your own thoughts, but instead repeating words and phrases and using your own words. So often in reflective listening, you'll hear phrases such as, so you feel, or it sounds like you fill in blank. You're wondering if. For example, if you were the coach and the person you're coaching says to you, our team has been falling behind on our deliverables for this contract. We've been improving on quality, but our pace has slowed down and the customer wants high quality products fast. You, as the listener, might say, sounds like you're wondering how to pull your team out of a lose-lose situation. So again, listening at all levels is not just what the words are being said, but also what's happening with the body language. What do you sense that might not being said? And then somehow working that into this paraphrasing and repeating back so that you're keeping the conversation going. There's truly not enough that can be said about acknowledgement or recognition from a coach to an employee. There are many ways this can be accomplished. It could be a simple note in writing, one-on-one, a little thank you note, a little just message. It could be a verbal acknowledgement in person. It could be an acknowledgement in a team meeting. Perhaps there's a published note for something critical that was accomplished. Knowing the person's reception style is important. Perhaps you expected more due to established goals or objectives. A good coach will pull out and find the efforts made to get where they're at today. It's the concept of the tiny steps before the big giant leap. So a coaching skill recognizes the inner character of the employee. And by acknowledging, you're recognizing who the person is, not what they did by giving praise and compliments, although praise and compliments are good skills for managers to use, but it's really going a little deeper than that. It's finding out some of those key things that you really want to hone in on, especially if you've spent quality time at the get-go of where are we going in this relationship and what are we trying to achieve, and drawing out some of those specific things and actions that you've observed. So you can see the example in here. And that is, hey Jane, you really showed your commitment to this project. Or, Peter, you took a big risk with that project that took a lot of courage. The intent is to support the employee and recognize them for the action that was taken. Acknowledging doesn't mean you have to agree with the employee's action. It's the act of empowering the employee to keep growing and developing. Now it's important to clarify the situation. This coaching skill is the combination really of listening, asking, and reframing. At times you may jump to conclusions about something an employee says or what they did without having all the information. So the use of clarifying allows you as the manager to gather more information and then reframe to ensure understanding. For example, if an employee is describing a disagreement with another employee, clarifying would involve listening to what the employee is saying, asking clarifying questions, and reframing in your own words what the employee's message is. We discuss listening skills, and the more practice that's taken as a coach for this, it makes it more of a natural process and helps during these coachable moments. Keeping it simple and sticking to single thoughts at one time to explore or review is really important. Reading body language is always critical. Watch for moments where they light up or they hesitate, and then allow yourselves to go just a little deeper to explore the why. Then remember, this is not a prescriptive conversation. There's no rules or techniques. So a coach needs to be prepared to adjust accordingly to the person's needs and situation, or perhaps move to a different communication style. Refraining from adding your own opinion, keeping an open mind, and then continue to explore what's being said and understand what it is that the employee is trying to communicate. Sometimes you're actually helping them try to find out what it is that they could be struggling with trying to identify or trying to communicate. Just remember, sometimes all the person needs is just to release those thoughts that are swirling around in their head in order to move and take action. So sometimes it's just, all you need to do is listen and clarify, here's what it is, and let's move on. Then if they do ask for advice, then they'll be more willing to listen to it because they know you understand what they're going through and you can be more empathetic about it. A great way to approach the communication is through curiosity. And what does that look like? It is asking employee questions and showing this curiosity by evoking personal exploration with the person. Rather than giving an employee the answer, be curious to get them thinking at a deeper level. Sometimes that might be, what will finishing the report give you? What makes this an effective strategy for you? What might be another choice that you could make besides the two that are in front of you? And how will you move forward on this project or gain commitment from your team members? These are just a few examples of how to be curious that allows you and the employee to get a little more deeper about the situation at hand. Using curiosity in the place of interrogation or finger pointing or telling what to do can be just super helpful in the learning process, and it improves the ability for them to make their own decisions, and that's ultimately less work for you. According to a Forbes article, authenticity in leadership is reflected by focusing on 7 areas. This is become more self-aware, understand your personal values, recognize it's a balancing act, look at those extrinsic and intrinsic motivations, find and develop your support team, get personal but not too personal, Stick to your roots and inspire and empower those around you. So being authentic is, if employees feel comfortable with you, they will want to work harder for you. Show employees your personality and be genuine. Again, reflecting on those 7 areas. What is it about you that makes you you? And how are you displaying that for others to be able to see and connect with you as a coach? This is not to say that there won't be situations that will require you as a manager to make a tough decision. However, the more real you are with your employees, the more they will trust you and want to build a productive relationship. Next is establishing those goals and expectations. As a manager, it's your responsibility to communicate the organization's vision, mission, goals, and expectations to employees. Research does show that most employees do not know what's expected of them. When your employees understand the expectation and goals that you and the organization have for them, productivity will increase. Holding those regular meetings with your employees to establish goals and then checking in to evaluate how they're doing is a critical strategy, especially with coaching and improving overall performance. A team won't be aligned to move forward to achieve your goals if they don't know where they're going. So take those opportunities to establish those goals and those expectations. Another strategy for sure in coaching is holding the employee accountable. You've heard the phrase, what gets measured gets done. Coaching employees creates accountability. It's by nature, that's the process, that's the relationship you have. So by using coaching sessions as a measuring tool for action means goals are more likely to be accomplished. After establishing goals and expectations with employees, follow up with them regularly on that progress. Depending upon the skill level of the employee, helping them break larger projects into smaller ones, more manageable tasks, that may actually help accelerate the progress. Be a resource and support for your employees so they feel comfortable coming to you and can learn the process. So recognize it and do it often. Studies have shown that achievement and recognition are 2 of the biggest factors that motivate employees. When coaching employees, be sure to recognize accomplishments that are both big and small, and probably doesn't help to recognize the ones in between too. In addition, recognize increased effort or improvement, even if the goal has yet to be achieved. In addition, research shows recognizing employees for small improvements and efforts increases the probability of the behavior continuing. They won't want to stop. They won't want to try to get out or start backtracking. So we have discussed frequently throughout this training so far, clearly this is a highly important aspect for a successful relationship and the continuation of a coaching program. The recognition of where you're at today, what you're trying to do, and how you're providing that feedback, it can boost morale, it can cultivate a culture of self-improvement, improves retention, and it makes employees happier. Consider ways to say, I appreciate you, I recognize you, I notice you, whatever, and add that into your regular cadence of working and coaching with your individuals and your teams. This could be, as a suggestion, hold an employee appreciation day. Maybe you look at some sort of an event, offer some sort of a bonus or a treat. Maybe you could even have an employee recognition wall. So we've talked about through this topic, what is coaching and what it's not, and how does that differ from the many approaches that you might need to take with your employees. Let's talk specifically about coaching versus counseling. One of the main misconceptions about coaching is that it is the same thing as counseling. So it might feel that way at times, but it's not. It could be further from the truth. Counseling occurs as a response to poor job performance, while coaching is a part of a long-term employee development process. Basically, a counseling discussion occurs after the problem has already been established. But ongoing coaching may be able to prevent many such issues from happening in the first place. Therefore, supervisors need to be coaching their employees more often than counseling them. That's not to say that you won't be providing some sort of one-on-one support with your employees. That's going to happen. But it is different from the coaching experience that we've been sharing and discussing today. And it's important to recognize that. We've also talked about the frequency of coaching and how important that is. Ideally, coaching should be occurring all the time in your small business or your small team or organization. And it should take place, during all of these opportunities where appropriate, of course. But you could look at your department meetings, your one-on-one meetings, and maybe those touch points throughout the day, again, depending upon your organization and your team. It might seem excessive to some small business owners or some small teams when you are trying to do some of these, touch points that are more frequent. But these different types of coaching tactics that are available, formal and informal, are very critical and important for overall success. Let's talk about formal coaching. As we mentioned earlier, there's times when it is appropriate and necessary to have formal coaching sessions. A formal coaching session with an employee may seem similar to counseling, but only to the degree that it typically takes place during a private meeting with the supervisor and the employee. This type of coaching discussion can work to identify a potential problem, or it may simply give the supervisor an opportunity to assist the employee with resolving job-related issues or reaching professional development goals. Formal coaching usually occurs on a weekly or monthly basis. The supervisor should go over the previous issues to see if they've been resolved, as well as discuss the employee's current work performance. This type of coaching allows the supervisor to identify problems before they get out of hand and to teach tips and techniques for better execution of the employee's assigned tasks. Now, we've discussed the fact that coaching, not necessarily always teaching and instructing, but there might be times in a formal coaching situation where if there is something specific that needs to be provided step by step, and to allow for the employee to practice that and be proficient at it when you are holding them accountable, that could be essential. So just be prepared to really identify those tactics that are necessary in order to help the employee be successful. What can organizations learn from our research? First, any approach to coaching should begin with clearly defining what it is and how it differs from other types of manager behavior. This shift in mindset lays a foundation for training and gives managers a clear set of expectations. Research also supports the idea of receiving feedback from coaching experts in order to improve. The risk of letting only non-experts help might reinforce and normalize ineffective behaviors throughout an organization. Specifically, coaching experts could give feedback on how well the coaching skills were applied and if any coaching opportunities have been missed. This monitoring could take form of regular peer coaching, where managers in an organization come to practice coaching with each other, or discuss common problems and solutions they have encountered when coaching others, all in the presence of a coaching expert. Here, managers have two advantages. First, they can practice their coaching in a safe environment, and then next, they can coaches can discuss the challenges they experienced and how to overcome them. So what that really is saying, coaching isn't necessarily inherent, and it requires a number of things: that listening, the questioning, giving feedback, assisting with goal setting, showing empathy, letting the coachee arrive at their own solution, recognizing and pointing out strengths, providing structure, and encouraging a solution-focused approach. You might need to practice it, and there might be an opportunity to provide a structure and a means in which people can practice this to be successful and have excellent coaching experiences. Now let's transition to, how do we help this? How do we help you or others be great coaches while they're out there, right? And it's common to find great coaches on the playing field, but what does that look like in a workplace setting? Coaching employees to improve performance starts with effective leadership. Good managers are skilled in coaching employees. Employees respond best to motivation, positivity, and support, not micromanagement or intimidation. Did you know that coaching employees can actually boost productivity and create more positive morale? A good coach is available, transparent, and encouraging. So let's also talk about pushing employees outside of their comfort zone. Without putting too much pressure on employees as a coach, helping them move outside of that comfort zone. When you see the potential in an employee, be sure to challenge them in a safe and mindful way, right? Offer them more, maybe a more important, or I should say important, but a more key role in the office or out in the field. Put them in charge of a special project. Capitalize on your team's skill sets and past experiences. Assign individual tasks to help employees strengthen and refine technical skills and those interpersonal soft skills. Challenge them to grow new ones. And then being available to answer those questions and lend support. Another great characteristic is welcome employee opinions and ideas. Nothing, and I repeat, nothing makes employees feel more valued and appreciated than an open line of communication with their superiors, their supervisors. One way to do this is by welcoming their ideas and opinions. Ask staff about what they think about recent changes, updates, or a new project. Practice those active listening skills and be receptive to their comments and concerns. When employees are able to express their opinions and offer feedback, they feel like their contributions matter. Employees who feel respected, heard, and valued are more invested and committed to the company, and that means retention. Leaders can inspire employees to engage by rallying around them, and especially when you have a shared goal. Be inclusive when setting goals. Ask employees to participate in the goal setting process, and it motivates them to accomplish it as a team. Another great characteristic is encouraging collaboration. Just like the coach of a sports team, they need to unify their players. Coaching employees means helping your staff work better together. Taking things one step further by encouraging employees to collaborate in the workplace. Every employee brings a unique set of skills to the table. When team members collaborate regularly, they can learn different approaches and techniques. This strengthens both the individual and the team. Co-worker collaboration also builds company morale, which is essential. Encouraging strong relationships at work creates a more positive and productive environment for everyone. Additionally, collaboration helps employees lead up by learning from their coaches how to interact with everyone to create unity. Another great characteristic is leading by example. The mark of any good leader or mentor leads by example. Avoid swooping in and completing a project or task for employees. There will be more learning that's accomplished through that trial and error. It can be painful, but it has great results in the end. Instead, prepare them with comprehensive onboarding training and then let them give it a try. Make sure to use a supportive and positive tone when correcting an employee. This is not an opportunity to be condescending or impatient as you demonstrate how you want things done. Another suggestion in leading by example is when you do need to provide constructive feedback. Be aware of your surroundings. Where might you want to make sure that you're providing that feedback? And understanding how your employees want to receive feedback is important. So take a few extra minutes or even days to show an employee the right thing to do, and it will save you both time and frustration in the future. It also strengthens the employee's skills and it helps boost their confidence. Do you regularly assess employees to identify progress and gaps? Here's a link. Coach better with Hub 360. Modernize your employee coaching tools and improve the results of even your lowest performing employees. Another characteristic is helping to build their confidence. One of the most important parts of coaching employees is building their confidence both professionally and personally. This instills newfound confidence in employees, and it's recognizing and rewarding their accomplishments. During your feedback sessions or employee reviews, highlight all the great work that they've done. Use specific examples to personalize your compliments. I think as we discussed before, we wouldn't want this to come across as superficial or that you're grasping for straws to recognize. Really take the time to identify some key things that you noted that were done well. Point out exactly what you liked about how they handled a certain situation, or how they manage through a customer service situation. Always acknowledge when an employee goes above and beyond their job description. Boosting employee confidence not only makes your staff feel good, but it helps them keeps them motivated to keep working hard. Since all coaching conversations are different, we don't know how the employee is going to respond to the manager's questions, but we've put together this sample coaching conversation to give you an idea of how to ask questions in response instead of telling an employee what to do. So if we look at this quick and easy situation, it's how to guide your coachee, right? The person that you're coaching. That individual says, hey, one of my goals is to get a promotion within this calendar year. Do you have any tips or advice about how to do that more quickly? You as the coach could say, okay, so let's break that down. You want to get a promotion in the next year. That sounds like a pretty significant goal. The person says, yes, but it's really hard to get a promotion in my department. You as the coach could say, do you think it would be more helpful to break down this objective into smaller, more manageable goals? That individual could respond, well, why would I do that? You could say sometimes larger goals like the one you mentioned might be intimidating or could be too much. By breaking down this promotion into a step-by-step process, it might help you better plan what you need to do in order to achieve this goal. And the person could say, okay, well, I guess I need to start by having a conversation with my boss. And you as the coach could say, okay, how do you think that conversation should look? I just love this because, again, everybody is so different. And by this individual really using leading questions such as, how do you think? Do you think it would be more helpful too? This really forces the coachee to examine how they would like to approach a situation. There's no, here's what you need to do and how to get it done and the next steps in order to be prepared for a promotion. It really was asking some concrete things. So while suggesting the coachee break things down into smaller parts, it might be interpreted as being directive. Setting specific goals leads to more effective coaching. Therefore, this is considered an important part of coaching, and it allows for the process to take effect. So let's recap those best practices that coaches can use for greater or more productive coaching conversations. We talked about avoiding closed-ended questions. Notice, none of the sample coaching questions were closed-ended, something that could be answered with a yes or a no. A coach should generally avoid these questions because they don't lead the conversation to any discoveries. There's no curiosity that's embedded or involved. The coach should be pulling information out of the employee by diving deeper. There's no stacked questions. Managers should not ask more than one question at a time. An example of a stacked question might be, hey, what time did you clock in this morning and were you running late? Asking one question at a time, the problem with stacked questions is that the manager may not get the answers they're really looking for and may instead overwhelm the employee, and they start to shut down and they don't know which to answer first and what to share. And then the last one is don't interrupt, jump to conclusions, or fill in quiet time. That could be really tough to do. The power of pause can be super challenging for anybody, but it's extremely powerful with a coach. Encourage managers to allow employees time to think. If there is silence while the employee is thinking, instruct the manager to allow it, not interrupt, or to try to further explain the question. So critical for a coach when you're thinking about how to create more opportunities to learn about the employee's style of processing and thinking. And that really is allowing for that time of silence. So make coaching employees in the workplace a habit. We've talked about so many different opportunities along the way of employee coaching. So let's review. Coaching employees is about creating a shared understanding about what needs to be done and how it is to be. Unlike sports with coaching employees, the coach doesn't take an authoritarian approach, but rather it looks to collaborate with the employee to identify, target, and plan for better performance. Coaching employees focuses on improving individual performance against key performance indicators or job expectations, as well as it can be for career development and employee growth. Coaching, it focuses on the employee's strengths and weaknesses or opportunities, their natural skill sets and personal goals, and then helps to provide them with a clear pathway to achieving them, as well as linking those to the company goals and using performance data and feedback. Managers often already conduct scheduled meetings with each of their direct reports. So this can be ideal to conduct coaching as both the manager and the employee can be prepared enough for a solid conversation. However, not all coaching sessions need to be or should be scheduled. There are many teachable moments that present themselves in the workplace on a regular basis. These are moments or opportunities to provide coaching in real time as a situation or a scenario is unfolding. For many coaches, one or more of the models could be helpful. That said, there's no one-size-fits-all solution when dealing and working with human beings, and performance improvement is no exception. Each coach, employee, and situation will be different, so the models may be used as is, or they may require degree of modification. Ultimately, models provide a good framework for coaching, but they do not help employees comprehend the skills needed to effectively execute the process or deliver on the desired results of improved performance. Just a quick reminder to conclude our time where the coaching formula is a process. Coaching is a process that enables learning and development to occur, and thus performance to improve. To be successful, a coach requires a knowledge and understanding of a process, as well as the variety of styles, skills, and techniques that are appropriate to the context in which the coaching takes place. We can't thank you enough for your time with HR Answers. I do hope that this coaching employees workshop is helpful and beneficial to you in your relationships with your employees. Thank you so much. And as you can see, HR Answers has a number of services that we provide. Please feel free to visit us at www.hranswers.com or give us a call, 503-885-9815. Thank you so much.